If you bought a Steam Deck or a Framework laptop, there is a very good chance that your name, your email, your phone number are sitting in a stranger's hands right now, and I want to make sure that you all know what's going on, what you can do about it, especially, and also how you can prevent this kind of thing from happening in the future so you don't really have to care as much when this stuff happens, because why should you have to care about this? It sucks. My name is Henry, I run Techlore, and we pretty much cover data breaches on a weekly basis on our surveillance report podcast, and so this is something I've had experience in covering for many years, and this one had some really interesting lessons I wanted to cover in a dedicated video. So the first thing you need to understand is that there is a shipping giant called CEVA, C-E-V-A, and they are a company that handles the shipping and logistics, and it's who Steam uses to ship their Steam Decks in Europe. Now, Steam sent this email out to people, and it says that between July 29th and August 1st of 2026, the contractor, CEVA, had their systems breached. They took names, they took addresses, they took phone numbers, emails, and also the order information, like what you paid for. The good news is they didn't take payment information, they didn't take passwords or Steam Guard codes. What's really interesting actually is CEVA, they only hold delivery data for 90 days. So actually the scope of this breach is kind of like maybe early May to now, and if you ordered anything during that time window, you were probably caught. But if you ordered back from 2024, your data was already wiped. And I think that's a good lesson in, not just holding on to data endlessly, which a lot of companies love doing today. But I also wanted to just outline that this isn't just necessarily a European issue, because what we saw here is we saw a company that you directly, had a transaction with, and they had some kind of dependency on another company. And those are the people who had a data breach. And the same thing happened with Framework. Framework is another computer manufacturer, and this one was a global data breach. All customers, US included. They took names, they took emails, they took phone numbers, they took addresses, and it wasn't even a Framework data breach. It was because of an upstream provider that they use called Metabase, which is their business intelligence vendor. That's right. Like, just what they use internally to see what's going on is what leaked everybody's data. These are like Linux forward machines that target technical users who care about privacy, and even those users working with these companies still couldn't avoid this problem of the just endless relationships that are created when you just access one website. And that is the first action step. If you are able to reduce the amount of accounts you have, just period, that is a very good starting point, because it's not normally just one account. It's normally one account partnered with 5 different companies or more, and all of those people can have access to your data. So I personally love to have a password manager. I did a tier list recently of some of my favorite password managers that I'll leave in the card up there. But as long as you use something that is audited, ideally it's open source, and that is easy to use and lets you generate secure passwords that are unique, it's probably going to be serving you pretty well, and it doubles as a nice little database of all of the accounts you have. Then it's easy for you to go through them and say, I don't need this account anymore, and you delete it from your password manager. Now, if you got this specifically, one of the first threats I really want to make clear is phishing. This is when someone's going to try to impersonate Steam or Framework or the shipping company. They're going to try to pretend to be someone official that they are not. With your email, with your phone number, they can literally just call you impersonating Steam or the shipping company. They can read your real email address back to you. They can literally tell you information about your order number because they know what the price and the type of order was that you made. So this can be extremely convincing. The best advice I can give is when you get something urgent over text or over email, just log into a service directly and see if there's anything there indicating whatever the communication line told you. Now, the other thing that I would point you to is 2FA. Now, Steam should actually require 2FA on pretty much every account. And I think if you haven't set up your own kind of hardcore 2FA, it defaults to email-based or phone-based two-factor. So on top of your password, you need to authenticate separately via a different avenue. If you use the email method, just make sure you're also using strong 2FA and a strong password on your email account, because then every service that uses email 2FA is inheriting your email security. And so make sure you're locking down those most critical accounts, which is your password manager, your email account, your bank accounts. Those are the ones that need the most security behind them. I think aliasing is the number one enemy of data breaches. And that's a good thing. That means it's actually good for you, right? Because what aliasing is when you see these data breaches and it's like your email was leaked, your phone number was leaked, your street address was leaked, all these things can actually be aliased in a way so that every service either gets something that's not directly yours that you don't care about as much, or it gets its own unique thing. Now, if you go to our tools page, tools.techlore.tech, and you go to account management and you go to aliasing services, you see some examples of these. Like MySudo is a phone number aliasing service. So if you sign up for an account online, you give them this virtual number. It's kind of like Google Voice. You can also use Google Voice for this too. Like, it doesn't matter necessarily as much the tool as it is what it's accomplishing. You give out your MySudo number instead of your real number to as many websites as possible. So when you get caught in a data breach, it's just that number that gets breached. It doesn't have to be tied to your personal name. It's not used for anything sensitive. It's just used for crap online. Email aliasing is even more powerful because it actually forwards everything to your regular inbox. And so you can do a Groupon email, a Facebook email, a Meetup email. If I go to Steam's website right now, it literally just generates like that. Boom. I just click hide my email, and then when Steam sends me an email verification code, it's going to forward to my regular email inbox. And that is what aliasing is. You're transferring trust from potentially hundreds of services to just one to help keep everything safe. And the last thing is you can do card aliasing as well. Privacy.com literally does the same thing that I just explained, except it generates a new card number for every site. Now, sadly, not all of these are available in Europe. The email aliasing is available in Europe. There are things like Revolut that have some of the features from privacy.com, which I can recommend to the Europeans. All of these will work in the US, and there is still not a great VoIP service that I can find to recommend to Europeans at this time. The last thing that is not in our tools and that I do want to kind of point out is the concept of CMRAs. These are mailboxes that ideally show up as a real street address that you can set up in many different regions around the world, especially in the US. What I like to do is I just go on Yelp and I type local mailbox, and you just walk in and you give them your real address. It's the same thing. Like you're having to hand over trust to this company, but now that's where you get all your stuff shipped, and your personal home isn't directly exposed in these data breaches. To kind of summarize, just be aware of phishing if you're ever caught in a data breach like this, especially these ones when they reveal everything about your order. So just be aware of phishing as a concept that is very critical. Set up 2FA on literally as much as you can, but especially those important accounts. Make sure to use a password manager so you have control of your digital life, so you know what's there, so you know what has each username, what has each email, which password. Ideally, your password manager can also help you with aliasing. So if you use something like Proton Pass, it will help with aliasing as well. Look at phone number aliasing if you have that option in your region. Look at card aliasing also if you have that option in your region, and use these aliases by default. Those should always be what you use. They're going to keep you safe from those future data breaches. So next time you get caught in something, it's like, oh, great. I'm just going to turn off that privacy.com card. I'm going to disable that email alias and change the email on the account. And I'm going to change the password, and I'm kind of good. I don't need to stress about it. And it puts you back in the driver's seat so you don't feel so out of control when this kind of stuff happens. Make sure to freeze your credit. This is going to be a totally different system depending on the region you're in. In some regions, it's not even a thing. But I can tell you, at least in the US and I believe Australia, it is possible to freeze your credit so people can't just open new lines of credit under your name. And if you have a higher threat model, consider trying to find a way to get a private mailbox as well so you can get things shipped without needing to expose your real home address. This is how you take control. This is how you take ownership. And I think it's also why it's unsettling is you kind of have to do the work. But once you do the work, it's easy to maintain, and it's not something you ever have to think about again because you set up the services that make this easy going forward. We're all going to be stuck in some kind of data breach at some point. It's going to keep happening, and that's why we have Surveillance Report. It's a newsletter. It's just a 5 to 7 minute read each week. So if you just want kind of a written thing in your email inbox with no spam, I just kind of share my personal thoughts on what's going on. Check out the newsletter in the description. Otherwise, it's also a podcast. And so if you prefer the video or audio version, I post that here on this channel. And I'll see you next time on Techlore.